Today's episode is sponsored by Skillshare.
There are some new fashion trends that you need to stop wearing if, like me, you're over 50, and today I'm sharing all of them. Hi, I'm Leonie and welcome to my channel. Now, I don't like being told what I can and can't wear. The whole idea of the fashion police telling me what works and doesn't work just doesn't really sit that well with me. But I have noticed there are a number of new season trends that I think are quite tricky to wear if you're a big age like me. I'm 57 and these trends are potentially aging. Now, loafers have made a real return to favour in terms of fashion trends this season, and on the face of it, I think loafers are a really good option, but there's a real preppy vibe happening too. So loafers are being worn back with little ankle socks, and I do tend to think that this can look very sort of girly and just kind of young, girly, preppy, college-like. And there's nothing wrong with that, but if you're over 50, I do tend to think that it can be a little tricky to wear because it just tends to look like you're trying too hard to look too young, especially if you wear loafers and little ankle socks with shorter skirts. If you wear them with pants, it doesn't matter. But just wearing loafers worn with little ankle socks and skirts, in my opinion, tends to just skew a little bit too young and therefore is a little jarring. So by all means wear loafers, and in terms of trends, there's kind of something for everyone, from chunky loafers. There's also a lot of more slim line styles on offer as well. But if you are wearing them with a skirt, I would just hold off on taming them back with little ankle socks. Maybe just go for some really interesting, fun, colourful stockings instead. One of the other key trends this season is leggings, and there are plenty of sort of stirrup style leggings about as well. And they're being worn back with slingbacks and little kitten heels. Now, what I would suggest is not wearing heels and leggings. I do tend to think this looks a little cheap as you get older. But if you do like this look and this is a style that works for you, what I would suggest is opting for a slightly longer legging, one that almost covers the front of your shoe. When you see a little bit of ankle, it does tend to kind of look a little, what was the character that Olivia Newton-John played in Grease? Was it Rizzo, or maybe it was Sandy? I think it was Sandy when she was wearing those hot pants. Anyway, I do tend to think that it's a youthful look and one that as we get older, we just need to be careful of. It doesn't mean that we can't wear leggings and a little bit of a heel. It just means we need to kind of, to help sort of elongate our legs and make sure that we're not sort of breaking up the line and showing sort of that skin at the ankle. I do think we need to opt for a longer, more sophisticated looking legging. One of the best things we can do as we get older, in my humble opinion, is to keep learning and expanding our minds, whether that's through travel or learning new skills like I have been recently through Skillshare. I've recently learnt how to edit Reels and YouTube Shorts on a little app called CapCut. I've seen my boys use CapCut, didn't know how to use it, and I learnt how to use it taking a very simple course on Skillshare. And in case you didn't know, Skillshare is the largest online learning community for anyone who wants to level up their skills or learn a new hobby or two. What makes Skillshare so impressive is that they actually have thousands of classes covering so many different categories, from productivity to candle making, sewing, knitting, crochet, photography, video editing, and so much more. I've recently started one of the amazing Ali Abdal's classes on Skillshare. That guy just seems to jam so much into his schedule, and I want to be more mindful with how I use my time next year, and his expertise on this is going to help me do exactly that. I don't know if you guys have heard of Ali before, but I'll leave a link to his YouTube channel down below. He is amazing. With his class and some of the simple to follow learning paths on Skillshare, I've managed to learn a whole lot already, so I'm looking forward to managing my time a whole lot better next year and being less stressed and less panicked about deadlines. And because winter is the perfect time to hunker down at home and maybe learn a new skill or hobby, I'm so excited to say that the team at Skillshare are offering the first 500 viewers a free 1-month trial of Skillshare. Now, this is so cool. You've got nothing to lose and everything to gain. So I'm going to leave a link to Skillshare in the description box below. But again, the first 500 viewers to click that link will get a free 1-month trial of Skillshare. So definitely give it a go. If you've sort of had some sort of candle making, or if you want to learn how to knit or sew, there is a course for everything on Skillshare. So definitely check out that link after you've watched this video and take advantage of this great offer. Now, next up is Double-Breasted Blazers, and I'm expecting to get some kickback on this one, but I do think that the old sort of double-breasted blazer looks a little bit too much sort of 80s power dressing. And again, we run the risk of looking like we're stuck in a little bit of a fashion time warp. So I have this kind of thinking that if you wore it first time around, you have to look at wearing it slightly differently second time around. Certainly back in the 80s, there were the sort of power shoulder pads and double-breasted power suits, and I don't expect that you'd be wearing them that way, but I think that that's what we need to think about as we get a little older. We just need to think about if we wore them first time around, we need to give those looks a little bit more of a modern take. And I think there are some beautiful classic single-breasted blazers that are very much easier to style with what's happening in fashion now. And certainly if you have some of those oversized man-style blazers that you've worn over the last couple of seasons, just grab a great belt them in, give them a little bit more shape, give those wider fitting blazers a little bit more longevity. But I do think with the double-breasted blazers, if you can wear them done up to give you that shape, but you can't sort of wear them open without a whole lot of fabric flapping around as well. And so for that reason, they're just not as versatile as a classic single-breasted blazer. And that is what I'm trying to say, and that is why I've popped them on the list today. And next up, in this one may be a little contentious too, and that is pieces of clothing that are either metallic or shiny. Now, what I'm not saying is don't wear them at all. I'm just saying be very cautious and careful with how you wear these pieces and which pieces you choose. So for instance, there are a lot of really sort of high sheen bomber style jackets about, and if you wear a piece like this, I think it's really important just to team it back with something that's really sort of textured, like a beautiful chunky knit, just to kind of give it that little bit of balance. I do tend to think that pieces that are shiny or metallic can skew very cheap and often don't wear that well. So I think it's a trend that can look good, and I love anything that's shiny. That inner magpie in me just is drawn to anything that sparkles and shines. But I think we have to be really careful not to cheapen our look with some of those pieces, and the way around that is just to really add some texture and a little bit of balance to those pieces. We don't want to sort of look too shiny. Also, that sort of high-low dressing works really well with some of these pieces. Certainly perhaps denim with a little bit of metallic thread through them, which I own pieces like that. They're a sort of a subtle take on some of this shiny metallic trend. So if anything, I think just think about how you pair some of these pieces and what you wear with them, and also maybe look for more subtle sheen in some of the pieces instead of going for pieces that are too shiny. Do you know what I mean? Next up is Maxi teddy coats. Now, we've seen these sort of snuggly, warm, woolly teddy coats happening for the last few seasons, and in theory, I'm a fan, but in practice, I do think they tend to skew a little younger. They also often look a little cheap. They look great when you buy them. After a few wears, they do tend to look a little bit sort of polyestery and a little bit cheap. So maxi coats, as I've talked about in recent videos, are very much a happening thing for winter, and in my mind, they're just a great timeless winter option. But what I would say, instead of opting for a teddy style, fluffy, furry, over the top maxi, I go for something that's a little bit more pared back and a little bit more classic. This is going to give you that warmth and that coverage, but it's also going to give you a timeless option that you can wear for years to come. So if that is what you would like, then I definitely suggest going for something like a sort of a tweedy option. I recently purchased one, I'll show you on the screen here. I do think a style like this just gives you a little bit more versatility, and it also looks a little bit more dressed up if you need it to as well, whereas the teddy coats also skew very casual. So I would steer clear of some of these maxi teddy coats for winter. Now, biker boots are always a happening thing when it comes to winter, and I would actually say that they're a timeless option. I have a pair of biker boots that I've worn for years. I'll bring them out season after season and I love them. But what I have noticed this season is there are some knee-high biker boots out there, and I tend to think this is just too grunge if you're over a certain age. And look, if that's your aesthetic, if that's your look, your style, go for it. I'm not here to tell you what to do when it comes to your own personal style. But if that isn't your personal style, I would really just stick with more of an ankle style biker boot. You are going to get that versatility, and it's a style of shoe that's not going to date. So knee-high boots are very much a happening thing. I've talked in recent videos about more of a sort of a riding style, flat knee-high boot that's happening this season. So if you are going to go for that option, I would go for more of a riding boot or a slight kitten heel style knee-high boot. I definitely wouldn't opt for a real sort of grungy biker style knee-high boot. Stick with the ankle boots. The other key trends, and I have mentioned this quite a bit in my recent videos, is animal print. And what we are seeing this winter, and I'm sure you've seen plenty of them out and about, is animal print fur jackets and coats. Now, all I'm saying with this one is err on the side of caution, because they do tend to skew very sort of call girly, mob wife gone wrong if you're over a certain age. I think when you're a little younger and you didn't wear them first time around, you can get away with this look. But I do think as you get a little bit older, they tend to look a little cheap and just a little nasty. If you have a really beautiful quality one, different story. But if you're buying a piece that's more from the high street, so more of your chain store fashion stores, then I do think you need to be really careful with this one. It just tends to skew a little cheap and not very sophisticated. So for that reason, it's on my list. Now, winter is all about chunky boots, and certainly the good old Chelsea boot is still being seen everywhere this winter. But one thing I would say is be really careful not to team your chunky boots back with wider leg pants and jeans. I tend to think that this makes your look very bottom heavy, and it is, again, a look that you can kind of get away with when you're a little younger. But when you are older, it's just jarring. So if you are wearing some of the wider leg pants and jeans that are happening this season, I would always opt for more of a slim-line boot or shoe. It's definitely more streamlined, it will lengthen your legs and just not make your bottom half look so heavy. Now this one, you may or may not agree with me, but there is a huge trend for sort of boho dressing and boho styling. And this one is incredibly tricky to wear as you get older. I do think you run the risk of looking like you are stuck in a bit of a 70s time warp, or that you've perhaps fallen into your closet and sort of come out dressed in whatever just clung to your body. And I know that sounds pretty harsh, but I do think it's a little tricky to look very chic wearing boho styling as you get older. It just doesn't look like it's intentional dressing. It looks more of a mistake, in my opinion. I do suspect that this one I may come under a little fire for, but let me know in the comments below. What do you think of boho styling and boho style outfits, that sort of really Stevie Nicks 70s styling as you get older? Do you agree with me that it is a little tricky to wear well, or do you think it's a style that we can wear at any age? I would love to talk about that in the comments below, so please let me know what you think. Anyway, that's it from me today. I hope you enjoyed this one, and if you did, I'd love you to give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.